Hello, my name is Nikedra and I am from Atmore, Alabama, the home of the Atmore Dragway. You cannot say Atmore without mentioning the best hooking track in the South. I came up with this idea, just an idea in my head, where I wanted to sit down with racers, with drag racers, to see what made them fall in love with drag racing. A lot of people don't understand the sport, and so I felt like it would be a great idea just to sit down and have a conversation on a personal level just about racing, just to see what it is that they love about the sport of racing. So I've been going to the racetrack since I was 3 years old. My dad and I, that was our thing. We've always bonded by doing something fast, enjoying fast motor vehicles. So typical Sunday, we would go to church, and then after church was over, after church service, it was his playtime, and we would go to Atmore Dragway. He would talk so much junk. Oh, he was a trash talker, and he'd be so loud. And then the next thing you know, everybody's walking fast, running to their cars so they can go out there and do the daggone thing on the track. And he would always have me sit up at the top. He would make me sit up at the top, the very top bleacher, so that he could see me at all times. And right before he would burn out, he would always point up to the top of the bleacher. And that point meant you better not move. You better stay right there till I come back. And I knew I would sit up there, and I was a little girl. And then some of the men, they knew me. So they would talk trash. They were like, oh, your dad is going to lose. Your daddy's going to lose. And I was talking junk. Oh, my daddy's going to win. So it was all fun for me. But I was so serious. I was my dad's best advocate for winning a race. So this is my first interview, and I thought, who else? Who's better to do than my father? So his name is Woody. A lot of people know him. Very friendly, very knowledgeable, intelligent, a bad, BADD man in the racing game. This is just to give insight on the sport of racing. A lot of people don't understand. They find it crazy or stupid or whatever. But it's no different from someone having a passion for basketball or football or fishing or whatever. It's just their passion. It's something that they live for. And not only is it something that they live for, it's something that they understand. They may die doing it. I remember talking to a guy one time. He was like, well, if I die doing this, at least I died happy. I died doing something that I wanted to do. A lot of people don't understand that, but a real racer would. So this is my first interview. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something from it. And I hope that you give me feedback. I want to know who you think is next with this, because this is a journey that I want to take other people on, just to get in the personal space of a driver, to see what it is about racing that made them fall in love. Look at all the people coming together from different walks of life just to watch two vehicles at one time battle it out to see who's the baddest on the strip.
I fell in love with racing when my daddy was racing back in 1968. He bought a 1969 Chevelle SS 396. But I had a thing for cars even before then, because my daddy had some nice. I had a 1958 Chevrolet convertible. I had a 1962 convertible Chevrolet, and then he bought a 69 Chevelle muscle car, and it was a 4-speed, and he and my uncle would was Cornelius McNeely, had a 1969 442, and there was a white friend of my dad had a 1968 GTX 426 Hemi, and that's what they done. They raced then, and it was just during the muscle era of muscle cars, and everybody back then had a 4-speed standard shift muscle car, and we grew up during that age, and we would be in the car with my dad, and sometimes he'd be racing someone, and it just got us into the face of racing. I started racing motorcycles. Matter of fact, I had a street bike, and I was probably about 10, 11 years old when I started racing. Growing up in racing at a young age, it matured myself and my brothers. I seen guys that got into racing when they got older. I've seen guys that were real nervous. I walked up one day, we was getting ready to race a guy, and he was in a pickup, and I looked over in the car, and his feet was shaking while his feet was on the brakes, and I knew he was nervous. Seat time and racing, it play a major role, and we had done it so long, we've been around people that done it for so long, we adapted to what they were doing, and we were comfortable doing it, so it really didn't affect us like that. It played a major role starting at a young age, doing it week in, week out, and even through the week.
Okay.
We done it every day. Probably my most memorable moment in racing would be when I had a SS Monte Carlo. And I was at the track one Sunday, and it wasn't a high performance car. It was a 305 high output engine. Had some work done to it. The 305 wasn't like a 350 cubic inch motor, but it had 373 gears, and I was blessed one day to be even some 350s and 400s with it because of my ability to cut the tree and to get off the line a lot quicker. And the car, it was real quick because it had 373 gears from the factory, and with the work that we had done, that was the most memorable time because I made it down to the finals of running a guy, and that was a memorable time to having a slower car and being in the finals. One night, Wayne was racing, and he wasn't the fastest bike in Atmore, and they had a big race, and he beat all of his opponents. Got down to the final round, and he was going to run a guy from Louisiana, and he beat this guy. And I never will forget one of the guys he's deceased now, but he was a close friend of ours in racing, which was Superbike Mike Williams out of Mobile. And some other guys afterward, they wanted to run. They was running in a race, but after the race was over, they wanted to race us. And Mike made a comment. He said, "You could bring John Forrest to the track tonight. Nobody's gonna whoop Hurricane Wayne." And that was one of the most memorable times in racing with us. Was that night. The scariest moment was I was out of town, and Wayne was racing in Huntsville, and we got a call. My brother Cliff called me and said Wayne had went down on top end in Huntsville. So I knew he was running somewhere between 170 to 180 miles per hour in the 8th mile, and Wayne had went down. And that's all he could tell me at the time, because they was going down to see what was going on. When Cliff called me back, he told me that Wayne was going to be all right. He was taking him to a hospital in Huntsville. They didn't know all his conditions at the time, but they knew he had gotten injured. And later on that night, the next morning, we found out he had 4 broken ribs. The leather suit he was wearing tried to tear his skin, because when you wear those special suits, they won't rip. They'll just kick your skin and try to rip it. And but he was down from racing behind that accident for at least 4 to 5 months. Last time I raced, I think we raced Illinois in the pickup. I'm good to go, 'cause I got my daughter with me. But why I got the grandbaby? Yeah. Yeah. At that time, Alan about to pick up 6 people. It was like what? We raced him twice, and he beat me both times. I don't think racing ever leave the mind of a man. It just, you got to know when it's your time to let it go. I still like racing. Even my pickup now. Every now and then somebody pull up in a car and just be kind of mashing on it, because I got some stickers on my back glass on my pickup of some stuff that I've done to it. And I guess they see those stickers and it enticed them to just urge an older man on to say, yeah, what you want to do. And they don't realize that my truck has a 6.2 engine, the same engine that the Camaros have. And I never forgot a guy pulled up on the side of me with some work done to a Ford diesel pickup. And I got a few things that I do to my pickup to make it go. And I've left the red light balling with some pickup and some Camaros and some Mustang. Racing never leave the mind of a person. If they liked it once, and they did it for a long time, they're gonna always love it. And I believe you could ask Boo Boo Daly, which is probably one of the oldest racers that's out there. I think Boo Boo now is around 81 years old. And racing is still in his heart. I learned later years in racing that you don't have to do a lot of trash talking. All you do is just, this was Wayne's philosophy. He was younger than I am, but I watched him. He wouldn't say very much. He said, all you do is just sit there. They're going to come ask you to race. And all you do is just be ready when they come. Either if you know they're a little faster, then you ask them, said, what you going to give me? And all you got to do is just sit there. They're going to be so anxious, especially when you're a legend. Everybody wants to run a legend. Everybody. They feel like they can beat a legend. And that's what people tell myself and Wayne, that we are old legends on motorcycles. And we would sit there, because Wayne just stopped racing about 2 or 3 years ago. And we would just sit there, because they wanted to have that under their belt, that they beat Hurricane Wayne or they beat myself. And they would come and ask us about racing. And I think in our later years, I said 6, 7 years before we quit, that's when we were really successful, because we learned how to be patient. And I watched Boo Boo Daly do the same thing, and he was very successful. He never asked anybody to race, never. I hung out with him. He was a teacher. He wasn't just a teacher in the classroom. Boo Boo Daly was a teacher of life, and I really admired him. He reminded me of my dad, and learned a lot of stuff from him. That's what they say. Older men have wisdom, younger men are strong. And if you get under the bed of an older man, he can teach you a lot of stuff about life. And he's taught me all the time. Because my dad always said that if a man is not teachable, you don't have anything to work with. I was braggadocious, if that's what you want to call it. And it really was a strategy. Some people, you go to being braggadocious, with them, you get in their head. I never will forget, I was racing motorcycle in Montgomery, and there was a guy, we call him Ponytail, and he really had the field covered. He was running a 920, and I was running a 968, and he had eliminated the whole field. He eliminated everybody. So I went to talking a whole lot of trash, junk to him, and got in his head. And I let him roll into the staging lane first, and he turned on his first bulb. I rolled in later, turned my first bulb in. Then I let him roll in and turn his second bulb on. And then I waited, because I watched the track, how they staged the tree. And I rolled in behind him, and they dropped the tree. Time I got the bike into the second stage bulb, and I cut I think it was like a 67, and I think he cut like a 2 point something on the tree. And when I was over, I probably had him at least 15 bites off the line. Couldn't catch me. Loss was also a strategy. You learn more from a loss than you do a win. Nobody likes to lose, but I learned how to. My dad had coached us, and we had been around my uncles. It helped us more. We wasn't sore losers. All it done was made us go work a little harder to recover ourselves. Recovering is a big part of racing. I've raced guys, and this when it helped us to start off racing when we were young. We would raise guys, they would make a mistake, and they couldn't recover from it. We was taught that if you make a mistake, try to recover as soon as possible. People that inspired me in racing in Monroeville, I would have to start with my daddy, which was Wilson Bullock Jr., my uncle, which was Cornelius McNeely, Randall Watson, Jesse Penn, Woodrow Moser, Dwayne Williams, Joe Louis Calhoun, a guy named Frog Lamb, Shirley Curry, Danny McQuarrie, Henry James. And you go into Atmore, you could, there's guys like Boo Boo Daly, Elwood Johnson, Frog Carter, Pip, Bobo McCracklin, Robert Grissett, which was Junior Grissett dad, Mr. Goat, Ray Marshall, which is a big legend in Atmore that race. And then you had we came along, and it was me, myself, Junior Grissett, Randy Johnson, Robert Watson, Gary Gould, Ben Adams, just a few more. All of us was doing that racing era. And then I remember some other guys. The guy had a car called a Little General, which is a legend. And I think his name was Roger. He had a Little General, which is it's a big time legend car that ran back during that era with Ray Neal. And yeah, Boo had a Grand Prix. He had a car called Teacher's Pet. Man, it's some old legend that really inspired me in racing. Today's cars are much faster than the cars we race. And even though I grew up racing on the street, I'm definitely not an advocate to street racing because cars now are so much faster. And that's really I'm not an advocate because they got fast Mustangs, they got fast Dodge and Chrysler products like Hellcat, the Corvette, the new Corvette is running somewhere between 2.8 seconds from 0 to 60. That's too fast on the street. And that's what I would say to them. If you're going to race, go to the racetrack. If you hit somebody now and kill them, you will be charged with them. If you don't kill them, even if you hurt them, it's going to be an assault charge. If you kill them, it's going to be a murder charge. And laws have changed. I know a young man now was racing, and a judge gave him a long sentence because they said he was racing. He had a family, killed a young lady. So I'm definitely not an advocate of street racing. I don't go watch a street race. I've been asked. I don't go watch street racing. If I'm going to watch a race, I go watch it in Atmore or some other facility. I find enjoyment in riding motorcycles. Since we stopped racing, we sold all of our fast motorcycles. Motorcycle that people call crotch rockets, and even our drag bikes. All those motorcycles we've sold, and now we're riding Harley Davidson. And even my wife rides. I bought her a new trike, and we found a lot of enjoyment in riding those. And here lately, on a Saturday, it's nothing for us but 400 to 500 miles on a Harley. We really like motorcycles. We grew up. I've been riding motorcycles since I was 5. I'm 61 now. Wayne been riding motorcycles since he was 3, and he's 57. So we enjoy it. It's a family tradition in the Bullitt family. I think all of our children, even our grandchildren, love riding motorcycles. So it'd be a great relationship with the family. Even my mother, which is almost 80 years old, she still like riding. For my grandmother, 99th birthday, I went up to the nursing home, and I rode her on her 99th birthday.
Oh, no, they got you so pretty. All right.
Hey, on that trike, and she really loved it. Matter of fact, she didn't want to get off. It's a family tradition. You gotta find out what makes the family happy, and that's what we've done. We raced, and it was a tradition in our family, and now we ride motorcycles, and it's a tradition.